Peanuts are the most common food allergy.
In kids, it's actually cow's milk.
You can cure food allergies. You cannot cure food allergies right now.
The best way to find out if you have a food allergy is to get tested. Myth. Hi, my name is Dr. Wei Li. I am a board-certified adult and pediatric allergy immunology specialist. I have been in practice in New Jersey for the past 10 years.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Payal Gupta and I am the co-founder and chief medical officer at Cleared, and I've been practicing in New York City for over 12 years. Today we'll be debunking myths about food allergies. Peanuts are the most common food allergy. So even though peanuts is a common food allergy, it is not the most common. In adults, it's actually a cross between peanuts and shellfish.
In kids, it's actually cow's milk.
So the 9 most common food allergens are cow's milk, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, shellfish, fish, wheat, soy, and sesame.
Peanut allergies grab more headline because they tend to cause more severe reactions, especially in kids.
Other foods like cow's milk and eggs, when you have those allergies in infancy, you'll grow out of them. But for peanuts, that allergy you're not going to grow out of. And so I think that for those reasons, it just kind of caught on a little bit more than some of the other food allergens.
You can use Benadryl to treat an allergic reaction.
You should not use Benadryl as the only means of treating an allergic reaction, for food allergies in particular.
Benadryl is an oral antihistamine. It can help with mild symptoms such as itchiness or hive. But if you have more than just itchiness or hive, like symptoms of anaphylaxis, such as trouble breathing, difficulty swallowing, tongue swelling, or feeling dizzy because of blood pressure dropping, you really should go to your epinephrine autoinjector.
The saying is epi first and epi fast.
Food allergies and food intolerances are the same thing. I see that a lot of people, even sometimes medical professionals, will confuse the two, but they're really different.
So food allergies are actually mediated by our immune system, and they're caused by an antibody called IgE in our immune system that reacts to food when it shouldn't. When that happens, we release a chemical called histamine, which then produces all of those symptoms like hives, difficulty breathing, low blood pressure, swelling of the face, of the eyes, of the tongue, vomiting, and sometimes even death. Food intolerances, or sometimes called food sensitivities, don't have any of that.
They are not mediated by our immune system. You have more gastrointestinal symptoms, and they are not life-threatening.
For example, lactose intolerance is a big one that people have an issue with. It's actually an enzyme deficiency in your body where you can't digest lactose because you don't have the enzyme called lactase. And so you're going to have that bloating, sometimes diarrhea, and just general feeling of not feeling good after you ingest things with cow's milk or with lactose.
Knowing the difference between food allergies and food intolerance will determine what kind of treatment you need to receive.
Food sensitivity testing is accurate. You just don't have good tests to determine if somebody has a food sensitivity.
There are commercially available tests called IgG, food-specific IgG testing. They're not FDA approved. We see IgG as a memory test to show that you have eaten the food, not an allergic reaction to the food.
Which is different than true food allergy testing, which is an IgE test. So those IgG tests that are often sold online, we don't go by them. Instead of testing, we would recommend a food diary where you can keep track of your symptoms, the foods that you've been eating, and then over time we'll start to see some patterns. That's actually the most accurate and helpful tool that we have at this time to help determine food sensitivities.
The best way to find out if you have a food allergy is to get tested. Myth. The best way to find out if you have food allergies is to eat it and to see if you have symptoms after eating it. So that's called an oral challenge, which is considered the gold standard in diagnosing food allergies. It's very safe and it's in a controlled setting with emergency medication on hand.
You can get an IgE blood test done at home. We might get people showing up as possible positives to some of the foods, but it doesn't mean anything unless you've actually reacted to the food. For example, if I have a patient that comes in who ate peanut and shrimp sauce, and then they had a reaction, And we're trying to determine, was it the shrimp or was it the peanut that they were reacting to? That's when those IgE tests and the skin tests that we do are super helpful in helping us determine what the person reacted to. You can cure food allergies. You cannot cure food allergies right now. The only food that we currently have an FDA-approved protocol for is for peanut allergy. Oral immunotherapy for peanut allergy is where you get small amounts of the peanut allergen over time. In the beginning, you get monitored to make sure that you're not having reactions right away. And then the critical thing is to take that amount of peanut every single day. If they miss a dose, then it could kind of set things back and they could have a reaction the next time that they're exposed to the peanut protein.
And I'll add to that, oral immunotherapy will lead to a temporary state of desensitization or tolerance, but not a permanent cure. I will avoid the word cure because it can lead to misunderstanding for patients.
Allergic reactions won't happen if you didn't swallow the food. Myth.
Even touching the food without ingesting the food can cause allergic reaction.
That's why it's important to not, touch a food and then touch somebody that has an allergy to that food. With shellfish allergy in particular, because shellfish is usually steamed or boiled, sometimes the food allergen protein from the shellfish can actually end up in some of that steam or that vapor. And so therefore it is to a certain degree airborne. And if somebody who's highly allergic to that food enters a room where shellfish is being boiled or cooked, they may start having symptoms even without ingesting the food.
Each allergic reaction will be worse than the last. So that's a myth. The reaction can be unpredictable.
Reactions to food are unpredictable because there are multiple factors that go into play. So what was the exposure and how much of it?
Asthma, that can worsen the severity of your reactions.
And so adding an additional component of inflammation and irritation will make your symptoms worse.
If your child has eczema, they will also develop food allergy.
Not every child with eczema is going to have a food allergy, but if the child does have eczema, there might be a higher likelihood that they could have a food allergy.
Having eczema and having allergies, they all belong to the atopic disease spectrum,
which refers to asthma, eczema, and seasonal or environmental allergies.
So if your infant develops eczema at a very young age, it's important to determine if the child has other atopic diseases as a trigger for their eczema symptoms.
If your first child has a food allergy, your next child will have one also. Food allergy within a family member is a risk factor, but it doesn't mean that you'll definitely have a food allergy.
Having risk factor really just increase the risk of developing the food allergies.
And it also doesn't mean that you'll have the same food allergy. So if your dad has a shellfish allergy, that doesn't mean that you're destined to have a shellfish allergy yourself.
And we don't know a lot about factors contributing to the development of food allergies. All we know are the risk factors. Throwing up will make your allergic reaction less severe. That is not true. Your allergic reactions to food is dependent on exposure to the allergens. Throwing up would not make the exposure less.
Essentially, throwing up is just exposing your body to that food all over again in a different way. It's coming up instead of going down.
Having to throw up after have eaten the food could be a sign of anaphylaxis, which is a life-threatening reaction. But self-induced vomiting would not lessen the symptoms of food allergic reactions.
Food is supposed to be something enjoyable. We're supposed to eat something at least 3 times a day, and so we don't want to put unnecessary stress around it. If you're worried at all, it's super important to go and see a specialist
that feel passionate about food allergies
so that we can help figure out what your history is and figure out what the right testing and what the right treatment